Welcome to the GraceFully Educated podcast. I'm your host, Carmela Carter, and this is the place where we blend faith, wisdom, and learning with grace. I have the absolute honor of sitting with my beautiful guest, Miss Illiona Okereke. Did I say it right?
Yes.
I did it! Yay! I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for saying yes. Honestly, thank you for saying yes. So we met through, I like to share how we met. If I know the person previously, my husband, Marvin Carter, shout out to my dad, is how I met Illiona. And ever since I met you, every time I see you, it's like, oh, it's just a beautiful presence about you. And so I'm so grateful that you decided to come here and bring that beautiful presence about you. So let's jump right in. You ready?
All right.
Great. So how did you get into education? Because I know that you're a counselor, but you're also an educator. So bring us all the way back from the beginning. Like, how did this all start?
So it started mostly in high school, I would say. The biggest memory I have is applying for colleges, and the school I went to, like they at the time, I don't know about now, but at the time they were infamous for not sending transcripts to your colleges. But I wasn't having that.
Wow.
So I was at the guidance office every day.
I know that's right.
Every day. And so much so that even the secretaries, they were like, Illiona, we knew you were coming here. And they would, whatever flyer about a scholarship, about this or that, they already had it for me. Thank you. And so I applied to a lot of schools, or at least I felt like I applied to a lot of schools. And I know my transcript went to all of the schools.
Right.
For sure, because I was always there. And that really was a big moment for me, especially when I went to college as a chemistry major in pursuit of pharmacology. And you know the end of the story.
Interesting.
That did not happen.
Wait, what high school did you go to?
East Orange Campus High School. So I went to Clifford J. Scott.
Okay.
And so for anyone who's in that area, Clifford J. Scott, it closed down and they merged the two high schools in the town. Gotcha. And it became East Orange Campus High School. So I'm the second class that graduated from there.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't know that. That's interesting. You said, so you come from East Orange. I'm sure your parents had something to do with you trying to go to these colleges, or no?
So no, it's actually the church that I went to.
Okay.
So my parents, because they're Haitian immigrants, they didn't really know a lot, and they weren't really educated. So like my mom was actually illiterate.
Wow.
So even in Haitian Creole, so she did not read or write. My dad. Even though I think he might have graduated high school, he was still self-learned. So he knew English and French and stuff like that, but he didn't know a lot about the school systems. But the church that I went to, like you can go there now, BMWs, Mercedes, like doctors, lawyers, business people. So like if they're in business, I'm talking about VP of communications at T-Mobile, Verizon, like that type. So that's the environment that I was in.
That your parents put you in.
Yes.
So they had something to do with it.
Yeah. And the other thing is that a lot of the youth that I looked up to, when they left like the choir or whatever, they went to whatever school they went to, and most of them were at Rutgers. They were in the choir, so we would go and visit, and I would see them doing ministry in school. And so I'm like, I really want to get plugged in. And so Rutgers was actually my first choice.
Wow.
And I did get accepted, but that's not where God wanted me to be. So I didn't get in there.
Wow, I love this story. Don't you love it so far? So this piece about your mother being illiterate, your father, you're not sure if he had a high school diploma, and then here they go, this beautiful daughter that's like, they instilled in you like the go-getter mindset. So I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna get there. And here we go. Here's my transcript. My transcript. I love that. So then what was the next step? Which school did you get accepted into? Would you go?
Yeah. So I think I applied to either 8 or 9 schools.
Nice.
But I did eventually become a guidance counselor, and so I've seen people apply to 17 schools, but that's because Common App makes it easier to do that. Right. But at the time, we didn't have that, and so I applied to like 8 or 9 schools, and I got accepted into all of them, except for one of them, and that's because I turned them down because they were taking too long in giving me a response. So I was just like, I don't care. But there was someone from the College of New Jersey at one of our college fairs, and so I'm going to Rutgers,
right?
And so I go to the college fair and I meet somebody from the College of New Jersey. Didn't even know it was a thing.
Right.
The College of New Jersey, right? Like, and so I I was really just bothering one of my friends who was there, and I was being a knucklehead. But the the recruiter, she engaged me, and she's asking me all of these questions, like why do you want to go to Princeton? Because I think Princeton was of interest. Why do you want to do this? And she really captivated me. So I went to. So she invited us to, I think, overnight to do an overnight visit. And so I joined. I researched and saw, again, because a lot of people from my old church, they were in the gospel choir at Rutgers. I researched
the gospel choir at TCNJ.
And so when I went overnight, I asked the person, hey, that we had to visit with, hey, can I go to choir tonight? I noticed that there's practice. And she's like, I don't go there, but I'll call someone. So she calls somebody, and it ends up being a person that graduated the year before me from my same school.
Wow.
And she took me to the choir. And I went to choir rehearsal, and I don't know if you know Mod Sannon.
Yeah, I know him, Mod.
Yeah. So he was the choir director, musical director at the time. And so, like, he was praying, and I just felt the presence of God. And I'm like, I just knew this is the place I needed to be. And so even though I had a 4-year scholarship to William Patterson University, even though Rutgers was my first choice, I was like, I'm going here.
Wow. Did you get any scholarships though?
And so at the moment, I just went by faith. And then eventually, I was given a 4-year ride. So I was a Harcourt Foundation Scholar.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Just being obedient to God. Like, I walk into place.
Yep.
The presence of God speaks. This is where I need to be. And then he said, you don't know that I'm setting you up, but I'm setting you up.
Yes.
On the road. Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us the turn of events of graduating college and then.
So when I realized chemistry wasn't working out, I remembered this memory of me being in high school and stuff like that. And I was like, I really feel like I want to be a guidance counselor. And so graduated with a psychology degree, went to my master's program at Rider. Okay. And became a school counselor. And so that got me into education, right? But not as a teacher, as a school counselor. But I still feel like it's education. It's still education, right. Exactly. And so working with a lot of my students, always helping them with different things, and they have a hard time at home.
What grade though?
So I did pre-K through 12, but I was mostly in the high school for most of my years. Okay. Most of my years was high school, but I did do like my practicum in middle school, and I did a year in elementary. So I've experienced with all grade levels. But even so, like working with the students, regardless of the grade level, they all had issues at home. And and I would work with the student, I would help them through it. And then it was like they'll come back and they'll be like, and then my mom did this or my dad did this, and it's just like, the parents undid everything that we just worked on. And then I would meet their parents, and I'm like, I see why. Yeah. I see why you're I see why. And so that led me to go back to school for marriage and family therapy, where I met your husband. Wow. And so because it was just like, I realized that it starts in the home.
It does. It really does.
And so it was very important for me to be able to, counsel the students, but being able to counsel, like I love to do premarital and pre-engagement counseling, and because I felt like that's very important. That's setting the foundation for the marriage. That's setting the stage for where the children will go into. And if the parents are healthy, if the marriage is healthy, then it's going to trickle down for the students.
Absolutely.
And so that was very important to me. Also, so I did that, and during the pandemic, I was seeing a lot of clients like that, couples, and I got an opportunity to work at Rowan College at Burlington County as an adjunct professor for undergraduate students who were becoming teachers. And so that is how I got into education on the collegiate level. Yeah. And so it was great because the same issues that I'm saying that the students were having with the parents, they're also having some of these same issues with teachers. And for me, it was very challenging because it's like, we know the students misbehave. Yes. But developmentally, what they're doing is age appropriate. What they're reporting that their teachers are doing, some teachers know, it's developmentally inappropriate because you are over 25 years old and your brain has fully developed. And so more is required of you. I understand that this student is having a difficult time managing their emotions, but it's not this student's responsibility to manage your emotions as an adult. Yeah. And so being able to train teachers to be trauma informed, to be culturally responsive, was a blessing because they're understanding now like what their kind of like their role is beyond being a teacher. Like, yes, this is how I instruct, but these are the things that I also have to be aware of, especially as our climate like is growing and how many people have experienced some form of trauma.
So give me an example of like a situation where you felt that the teacher wasn't acting 25 or older. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that we can kind of help our viewers see the perspective of, because you're able to see it all. You're able to see the teachers' movement, and you're able to see what the scholars are reporting. So what did that, give us an example of what that looked like?
So I can't think of a specific example like of what has happened, but what I would often see is a power struggle.
Yes.
Between the student and the teacher, right? And so because I'm aware of trauma, right, it could look like the student is doing certain things on purpose. It could look like maybe they're not even paying attention. And sometimes we classify or we assume that a student has ADHD, but it could be trauma, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why they're daydreaming. That's why they're off into. So that's something we call disassociation. Mm-hmm. And so like their body is present, but their mind is like completely somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so now the teacher is saying you have to do this thing and you have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And the student may be engaged with them and they're like, no, that's not fair. And so like they kind of like explode. And so now there's this back and forth that's happening because now the teacher is also dysregulated. Mm-hmm. And it's important for the teacher to understand that it's not about you in this moment, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when we're talking about this kid that might be disassociated. The reason why they're exploding could be because of what's going on at home. This traumatic experience that they had, you know, they're having right now or had 5 years ago. And that's what's happening for them right now in this room. Mm-hmm. And so now you've escalated it by being dysregulated. And so it might be helpful in that moment to just let's breathe, right? What do you see? You know, because making sure that they are present in the room, right? Mm-hmm. Because they can be here physically, but their mind is somewhere else, right? And now you're having this power struggle. You're being combative with the student, and if the goal is to get them to do their work, well, what can we do to help them to get in the mind frame to do the work?
I think that what, like, just coming from the teacher side, right, is that sometimes they have a room full of like 30, 25 to 30, and then you have one or maybe 3 disruptive behaviors. And I can see from this perspective of like the teacher saying, you're causing a fire, trying to cause a fire in my classroom, and I can't have that because the other 23 students need to learn if we're in a room of 25. So I can see that, but I also understand also from the trauma-informed piece, because I am a trauma-informed life coach, so I can see where they need to possibly lean in and say, like, what's going on? Like, whisper those, you know, doing those whisper prompts and, you know, just doing those soft touches or whatever the case may be, instead of, like you said, doing that power struggle. Yeah. So how has that class been for you with those teachers, or have been? Are you still teaching it?
Oh, so that class? No, I no longer teach that class. Okay. But it was great because the students, most of them were like in their, it's not called practicum, but they were also working at a school. So they would be able to say like, yeah, I noticed this is what my teacher did, and this is what the teacher should have done. Yes. And so you could see the real world implications of what they were learning. And so I think that was very helpful. Right. Now I teach graduate students.
I love this career trajectory. It's going up and up and up.
Yeah. And so I teach graduate students, and so these are the school counselors and mental health clinicians. And so I mostly teach practicum and internship, so they're actually at the schools or whatever private practice or agency site that they're at. Right. And so we're going over kind of like their cases. And so now these are some of the places where sometimes the students end up being. So like you probably have had students that ended up at Carrier or something like that. Yeah. And so because they may have had some severe behavioral or mental health issues and needed support. Right. And so the counselors that are there, that's who I'm providing support for and supervising them.
Nice. So how do you like teaching? Like what because you went from guidance counselor to teacher. Oh, I'm a professor. I was never a teacher. I'm a professor. Well,
teaching students.
That
are going to be teachers.
Right. Yeah. And so, how has that transition been? Like, do you like education? What are your thoughts towards it? Teaching adults, because I also taught adults. So I taught K through adults. And so my favorite. Well, I was an educator for K through adults. I haven't taught every level.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite has been so far high school.
Mm-hmm.
I love high school students. They are amazing. Adults, I think for me was like they had a lot of outside responsibility, and I think I was more compassionate towards that outside responsibility, and so maybe not holding the bar or the line as high as I could have.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy high school students.
Yeah.
How have you been enjoying working with adults?
So I do like high school up until adults. That is my preference.
Yes.
I love children and children love me, but it's very different when you're counseling children because you can understand with the high school students, I'm like, girl,
right,
come on.
Right.
It's very little words that I even have to say.
Right.
But it's very different when you're working with elementary, and so like it is harder for me to translate, girl,
yes,
to a 5-year-old.
Come on, sweetheart, get it together.
Yes. So that's very different. And so for me, so I love all of it, honestly. Right. What I did teaching, I love teaching teachers the trauma-informed piece.
Yes.
But there isn't as many programs for them.
Yeah.
Because that was a very unique program in the Rowan community world. So
well, they should have more programs like that, yes, especially in urban education.
Yes, it's needed. Because honestly, even as a school counselor, we would have PDs. And I'm like, why are you telling us this? We learned this in our master's program. This should be a PD for the teachers, not us. Because we don't need, because it was like nurtured heart or something like that, which I love the approach. Right. But we're like, the teachers need a nurtured heart. Yes. And you're giving this to us, which relates to, is another name you're slapping on what we learned in our master's program. Yeah. And so I wish there was a bigger, there was more of this program for students in their undergraduate program, but also, as PDs.
100% PDs. Yeah. I think PDs should definitely be trauma informed. Yeah. So while I don't particularly like being in the classroom as a teacher for the teachers, I mean for the adults, I love coaching. Yeah. Like I am a coaching, I love coaching teachers and sharing with them stuff like relationship building and understanding like we're not in a power struggle. You're the leader of this room, and so
right, you already have the power.
Yes. And you're allowing this person to take your power. So
yes,
I really, really enjoy coaching teachers and stuff like that because I am a coach. This idea of trauma informed should be a PD at least twice a year.
Oh, yes.
For every school.
Every school.
Because a lot of teachers are saying, well, I'm a teacher. I don't want to be a counselor. I don't want to be a parent. I don't want to be wearing all of these different hats. I just want to come in and I want to teach my lesson. But unfortunately, we live in the world where we have to wear multiple hats as an educator. And I know I'm in the classroom. It's hard as an educator to wear the multiple hats because you have timelines from your admin to get this particular thing done. But in the same token, you have to make sure that you are building these quality relationships with these scholars. So I truly believe that trauma informed should be especially in the urban community.
And it needs to be everybody, right? Because remember my story, what started this in high school. Yeah. Notice I didn't say anything about my guidance counselor. It's the secretaries in the guidance office.
That was
before I even talked to my guidance counselor. Here, Illiona, here's this, right? And so my son is 6 years old, and this past summer I take him to summer camp, and this lady introduces myself. Oh my gosh, hi! I know your son. I work at his school, and they're all kiki and ha-ha, so I know my son knows who this woman is. Who is she? The lunch lady.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, because they have an instrumental part in that, whoever is connecting with these kids, they need to be trauma informed because it's all of our responsibility. And if it's all of our responsibility, then it takes the load off of the teacher. Yes. Because out of everybody in the building, the person that has it the hardest is the teacher because they are in direct contact, especially elementary school, they're in direct contact with these kids for 6 to 7.5 hours. Yes. That's a long time. Yes. So if they don't get a reprieve from the other people that the kids are interacting with, then it makes their job harder. Yeah. But if the whole school is on board with that, then it makes it a little bit easier. Because I also understand that if I may not be able to give, like you said earlier, I have 30 students. I can't right now, right? But if I understand that everyone here is trauma informed, that means if I step out in the hall, any staff member I give this kid to, and say, hey, take them to the guidance office, take them to the principal's office, then I know that they are in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a little bit responsibility off of the teacher.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right.
I think that in the school that I am in now, it's very supportive like that. Like, if you have any issues, you do the exact same thing. Step in the hall, and then like the leader of the culture team will just come, take the student, get the student regulated, bring the student back to class.
Yeah.
And I love that approach. So we have been talking, and this conversation has been rich and good. And so as time is winding down, I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask you this question. Because this is a Christian platform, and I interview everybody. So if you have anybody, I don't care if they are the lunch lady, the guidance, whoever you are, gym teacher, I would love to have them on the platform, just a plug there, because those are the voices that we need to hear in education as well. If you had to think of somebody in the Bible that you can say, in my journey currently, or in education, or previously, this story, this person, besides Jesus, because everybody can relate to Jesus,
right?
Who would you say is like, this is the person that I model my life after, or helps me in this particular field?
Mary.
Mary, like Mary who?
Mary as in Mary and Martha.
Okay, all right.
And it's because...
Yo, there's so many Marys in the Bible. She had to be clear, okay?
Yes. But it is because I've often functioned as Martha. And so I say it as Martha being an over-functioner and Mary seeming to be an under-functioner. And so, because oftentimes I feel like, especially being a child of immigrant parents and having to translate and having to do all of these things for, a mother who was illiterate, that just meant I had a lot more responsibility before it should have been my responsibility.
Ooh, come on, Martha and Mary in the same body.
So I've overfunctioned a lot.
Right.
And there's a lot that has happened in my life that have made me like, I had to slow down.
Yeah.
I can't. I literally can't. My body will say, we are done for today. And that have caused me to slow down, to be more like Mary and do what is important in the moment. And so whatever role that I'm in, whether it's at church, whether it's as a wife, whether it's as a mother, whether it's as a professor, whether it's as a doctoral student.
Okay, Dr. Illiona coming.
I am going to be Mary, and I am going to not underfunction, but function in the way that I need to in the moment.
I love that. I love that, because Mary said, I'm just going to sit.
I'm going to sit at his feet.
I'm going to sit at his feet. Because I know that at his feet, when I get up, everything that I was working for could be done.
Yep.
I love that. Taking that for this season, because I am in a new season of education. So, and everything is new for me, honestly. So I'm just like, I need to take that approach. So thank you, because that encouraged me. All right. So if you had to look at our camera and speak to the educator, some encouragement, what would you say?
So 2 things. One, I would say that even as educators, we are teaching, but we also should be learning. And so it's important to continue to develop wherever you are, whether you are new in education or a veteran in education. There's always room to grow, to learn. And you don't always have to learn from someone ahead of you. There's still stuff to learn even from those who are just coming in. And so as an adjunct professor that is teaching people that's just coming into the field, there are things that I'm teaching them that are new, that's innovative, that veterans may not know. And so just because they're new doesn't mean they don't know. And so it's important to learn. And the second thing is, if we're going to be like Mary, right, then it's important that we don't burn out and that we are intentional about self-care. And so not waiting until the body shuts down, right, or not waiting till we can't, but doing it as a prevention as opposed to being reactive to what is going on. So be intentional about your self-care.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that was so encouraging. Like, I'm sitting here internalizing, and I got lost in my thoughts because I'm sitting here internalizing. We're supposed to shut off right now, but I have to say this, okay? This whole idea of burnout, I've been seeing it on LinkedIn a lot, where people are saying they are burnt out, not only in education, in every field. But as Christians, I'm going to steal what Illiona just said. As Christians, no matter if you're male or female, the burnout doesn't have to happen if you take the position of Mary.
Yeah.
If you take the position of sitting, and sometimes sitting can feel like there's no production.
Yeah.
But when you sit,
Yeah.
God can produce way more
Mm-hmm.
than you ever could.
That's right.
Girl, that was good. That was good. Oh my goodness. What school do you teach at?
Rider University.
Go to Rider. Get in her class because that was some good information. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. You have richly blessed us today. I was blessed. I'm sure you guys were blessed. And thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you leave a comment for Illiona to let her know, girl, you spoke to me, what revelation you got, all of the things, because encouragers need encouragement. As we pour, we need people to pour back into us. So thank you again for pouring into us, and thank you guys for watching today. I know for sure that you learned faith, wisdom, and you definitely learned with grace. Until next time, have an amazing day on purpose. Bye.